Alright, welcome everybody. I'm playing Star Wars Rebellion Rise of the Empire expansion for the first time in quite a long time, and my friend hasn't played in ages, and we were not even sure if he's played this expansion or not. So we're just going over the basics of the rules. So essentially, the Empire only has one goal, and it's to find and destroy the Rebel base, while the Rebels are trying to win their war of propaganda. Oh, that's actually just out of frame. That's interesting. All right, there you go. They're trying to win their propaganda war and convince the galaxy to throw off the shackles of the evil empire and all that kind of stuff. So it starts out at 14. That's how much support the galaxy has for you, and the turn counter obviously starts at 1. And so whenever the turn counter and the morale marker ever meet, the game's over. I won. The galaxy finally got over. Finally, you know, got fed up with you. Now, obviously, the turn counter goes up once per turn per round, which is one thing that's nice about this game. Is like this game has to end. Like there's some games where the war just goes on forever. Axis and allies, that kind of stuff. This has a very definitive end. And if it lasts 14 rounds, something terribly went wrong for me, because that means I never met a single one of my objectives. But these objectives are useful. So, for example, seize control. After you win a space or ground combat in a system that contains a sabotage marker, you may remove the sabotage marker. So obviously I would need to sabotage the plane first, then I take it over, and then suddenly, it's mine. The Death Star plans are always in here. I get 2, so it'll instantly go down 2 if I blow up a Death Star, because,
So that's what the red one and 2.
Yeah, that's what the red 1 and 2. And you can do one combat objective and one start of the refresh phase objective at the refresh stage of this happens during the turn combat. So you can only do one of these, and you can only do one of these per round. So you can't be like, oh, I've actually met all 5 of these objectives. It's going immediately down. It takes a little bit of time, but to be perfectly honest, as soon as a rebel has the ability to do something, you just as well do it as soon as possible. Otherwise, it could, backfire on you. You could reinforce the area or something like that. So that's how the rebels are trying to win, by sabotaging, destroying your stuff. Destroy Superstar Destroyer, blow up 3 Star Destroyers in one battle. There's a lot of different ones, which I'll now have to reshuffle since now you know what one of those are. And the game actually, it builds up pretty well. Each one of us start out with 4 leaders to begin with.
And this is the total pool of them?
This is the total pool. Yeah, there's all these other reinforcements, and for the first not the very first turn, but after that, during the refresh phase, for 4 turns, you draw 2 cards, and you choose which one of the cards to enact. So for this one, Point Blank Assault, where I could choose to either recruit Admiral Akbar or Badine, or Under the Radar, and Saul Guerrera, and I forget his name, Cassian Andor. I can only choose one of the characters on the card, and then I keep the card. And whenever each one of these cards is different, and so this is just a special. Some of them are reinforcements. Some of them, give you a droid. Like this one, he means well. If I choose this one, I get K2SO, and he's immediately placed on Cassian. So these cards just change up the flex of the game. So obviously, you're only going to be recruiting 4 more people, And
4 more total?
4 more total. Now there's other mission objectives and stuff like that where you can get more, but in this game you're limited you can never have more than 8 unless you have a particular other card that allows you. I think there's an Imperial one that allows you to have a 9th. But that's all there's going to be. So there's a lot of different reinforcements, and so each game is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to get different people. There have been plenty of games where Luke Skywalker never comes into play and all that kind of stuff. So it's...
And if I recall, the icons here, I mean, they all have different
right.
missions that you're trying to do.
Right.
Using the right corresponding strength helps.
So
right?
Each one of us start out with these 4 reoccurring missions. This symbol means it goes back into your hand when it's completed. And so there's this diplomatic symbol, which, for example, Mon Mothma is very good at. So if I do this mission and you say send Tarkin to counter, I would roll 3 die and you would only roll 1. And so we would roll. Alright, so this was actually a bad roll for me. So I got 1, you got 1, but the defender always wins ties. So Tarkin would be able to block me from doing that mission. Same thing, and you can always send 2 people on a mission. So for this one, I want to send 2 people. Leia is more well-rounded. She has 2 of the spy one, 2 of the diplomacy, and 1 of the spec ops. So I would roll 2 die, and then would say you sent Vader to block this one. You can grab this up. So I got 2, and this actually counts as 2. So the Empire has blocked it once again. And so you can send 2 people on the mission, but you can only send 1 to counter it that is left in your pool. However, if there are already people on that planet, they can contribute as well. So that gives you an advantage of, maybe you want to sabotage and then do something on the same planet. So in the beginning of each round, we choose a mission card, and we just say, okay, these 2 are going to do on these missions, and then I'm leaving these 2 in reserve. Whenever you leave anyone in reserve, those are the people that you can use to counter. And the rebels choose their missions first. So if you saw this, you'd be like, okay, obviously that's going to be a diplomatic mission. And you could leave the Emperor in reserve to block it, or you'd be like, you know what, they're going to be rolling 5 die. I'm not going to bother to try to block it. And then you do other stuff. Now, besides leaving people in reserve, it allows you, if a combat starts, so for example, if you attack, if I had forces on Naboo, I can choose Dodonna to come in and lead that battle. And the other important aspect of a leader is it allows movement, especially for the Empire, because you want to expand and occupy as many places as possible. What's nice about it is when you put a leader where you want to go, and you can pull troops from any adjacent region to this spot. They just have transport rules, troopers need to be, and the symbol here on your card tells you how many people it can store. And rebel fighters can carry themselves, but Imperial TIEs obviously don't have hyperdrives and they need to be transported. Something that is important
and this counts for both land-based and
and space. Okay. Now, something that's very important for rebels is, let's say there's this really large force. You may send a mission there. All right, I'm going to sabotage this. I really don't care about the sabotage, but if you block it, if you send someone, you're essentially commandeering these forces to try to stop me from doing it. Another person can't then move these troops from this planet because they essentially were being used to stop that.
Can you split? Can you say I'm going to do 2?
No.
No.
There's whenever a leader is in a system, They are
Now, what if I had just done that? Does that mean they're not here to defend?
right. So essentially, if I had just done this mission and you were like, "Go ahead, I don't care," it would obviously automatically succeed. But then you would be free to move troops afterwards.
I see.
So a good rebel player will try to stall a galactic expansion by keep on putting missions in planets where large forces are, just to bog them down, even if they know they're going to lose. And so a good Imperial player would then have diverse battle groups that can go in different directions. So you're like, okay, he's stopping me here. I'm going to go ahead and block it because I don't want that mission to succeed, but I can still do an expansion during this turn. And
So when I place somebody with things in an adjacent system, I need to declare whether I'm moving people.
Well, I mean, what you'll
like,
do
what
is
if I had, what if I had like this? And I went like that.
So as long as like you had Star Destroyers, you'd be like, all right, their troops are moving here, and then you can just completely clear out if you want.
Okay.
But
I can leave them. I can choose.
Yeah, you can choose at whatever amount. Now, if a rebels only have loyalty or nothing, but Imperials have two versions of it. They have loyal, so Coruscant starts out at always loyal, and so even if you have no troops on Coruscant, the people love your enlightened rule so much that they will stay there. However, if Corellia is under the boot of Imperial occupation, as long as you have one troop there, you're fine. But if you leave, it gets discarded.
Okay.
And what's interesting is if I control a planet and then you occupy it, you get that. But if all the troops are either defeated in battle or you move them, then suddenly it becomes my planet again. Now this can change.
It's like the Cardassians.
Exactly, yeah. Now this can change with rule by fear. This is a diplomatic one, and it reduces. I think it's like the loyalty by 1. So essentially, if I had a marker there, it would remove it, and then you would do it again, and then it would become loyal to you.
Okay.
Or if there's just this here, then it would switch it to loyal.
So for you to take a system that's loyal, you've got 2 steps.
Right.
So it's sort of like loyal, occupied if I've got troops, and then you could take it.
Right, but the rebels, they don't have a version of occupation. So if there's a loyal force of population, and then even if I defeat you, it's still your planet. I'm just like have a presence there.
Got it. You have to do something to actually turn it.
Right, yeah. We each have a reoccurring mission that allows us to do that.
What's the numbers on the bottom here? The 1.
Oh, so this is essentially how capable in the new version of combat. This means how many rerolls you can do for die, depending on whether or not it's a ground battle or a space battle. So some people are better at different things. Like Dodonna is better at space, and Riken is better at ground. Some people are great at both, like Luke Skywalker. He's 3 on the ground and 3 in space once he becomes a Jedi Knight. So he's quite capable.
Right.
Other people, they don't do anything, and they don't contribute to battles whatsoever.
Well, let's jump in and you can explain on the fly.
Yeah.
So these are yours?
Yes.
You want to cut them?
Yeah, sure. And go ahead and cut mine too. We'll go ahead and finish the setup.
Yeah, sure.
So, this is how we choose. We're doing the advanced setup where it's like more or less random, and so we just draw. Well, I guess it'll be easier actually if I do it this way. So the first Imperial planet is.
So it's a random assignment. Of
right. If you could help me find.
What are you looking for? Seleucia.
Yeah. You can tell I haven't played this in a while. Oh, here we go. Alright, so the first one becomes occupied that you draw. And then Naboo for me. And then Corellia is also occupied.
Was that automatic or did you flip that card?
Oh,
you flipped it. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the first two for you become occupied, but then after that, so Rodea, where is that? There you go. Alright, that's loyal to you. And Mandalore is also loyal to you. I have Bothuine, which is a good one for the rebels, because we get air speeders. And your last planet is Magneto, which is over there. And I get one last one, Ryloth.
Were you randomly going through those? Is that what you
Yeah, so
You just flip them until it.
yeah, so these, the rebel base can't be on. And so, yeah, we just draw the planets. These were shuffled. And so the first two of yours is occupied. And then you get 3 more after that. And Coruscant. And I get 3 total. So it's definitely, again, the Empire starts out at a really good position. And then you have a secret Death Star under construction. And 4 TIE fighters and 1 Stormtrooper. You choose a remote system, which is a system without one of these on it, and you put it there. You decide now.
I choose now, huh?
Yeah. Now, obviously, you may want to put it next to a place where you can reinforce it, like if you put it on Ilum, because you have this planet, or you could be really aggressive and put it on like Tatooine. Okay. And now you divide up all your other forces that got set up. And the only rule is that you have to put at least 1 trooper on these occupied planets. And then other than that, you can divide it up however. Well, actually, it's just these are loyalty, so you could technically leave it empty, but yeah. So I'll pause, and you go ahead and put all your stuff down. Now you may want to, not leave stuff isolated. So,
and is there any benefit to taking a whole system?
No.
So the concept of systems doesn't really matter.
Well, it's more of like transportation,
Gotcha.
and sometimes
and these are what they produce.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll go through that. So, each one of us has a build queue of what can be constructed. So certain planets, like for me, this builds like shield generators, but for you, it builds AT-ATs. These are troopers for both of us, and then the space symbols is essentially the small symbols are fighters, and the large ones are capital ships. Now, there's only 3 planets that can build capital ships: Mon Calamari, Utapau, and Corellia. So those planets are particularly useful that you want to have at least 1, ideally 2 of them.
All right, so I can deploy all of this.
Right. And my one advice is just don't leave things isolated. Make sure there's at least some form of, a transport that can move stuff around as you need it. Alright, everybody, the Imperials have set up their stuff, and now the Rebels can choose to put their stuff on only 1 planet, or one planet and the Rebel base space. It's a weird rule, but it is what it is. So having capital ships is important. So I'm gonna go ahead and start out with some troops on Utapau. And then I'll put the rest of this stuff in the Rebel base space. And and then I'm going to choose where the rebel base is going to be hidden. I have chosen my rebel base location. We're going to go ahead and start. Just for the sake of this being a good introduction, I'm going to go ahead and pause it here, stop it here, and then we'll start our game.